Okay. So basically, to start with fundamentals, reporting is nothing but extracting the data, right? So why do we call report? Why do we create reports? Nothing but whatever data that is there in the system, we call it in the name of report and we extract the data, right? So there are multiple ways of extracting the data. So mostly in traditional software system, we have databases. We'll query there and call the data that is sitting in the system. But whereas in Workday, we don't have any kind of database. We don't have any kind of database. We'll not use any kind of queries. We'll just use kind of objects actually. Okay. So Workday is an object-based application. Okay. So whatever data that gets into Workday or whatever data that goes from Workday, goes out of Workday, that will be from the business objects actually. Okay. So that's the reason we say Workday is an object-based application. Okay. Meaning that all the data that gets into Workday will be stored in the form of business object. Okay. So whatever data that we see in Workday, that is stored in the form of business object. Example, you hire an employee. Employee will go and sit in employee business object. You add dependents to that employee. Dependents will go and sit in dependent business object. You add benefits to that employee. Benefits data will go and sit in benefits business objects. So like that, any instance that we get created in Workday, that will go and sit in that particular related business object. Okay. So that's the reason why we say Workday is a object-based application. Okay. So now, when we have objects, right, and when we are coming to the report, we are saying that Workday is an object-based application. So all the data that gets into Workday will be stored in the form of objects. In the same manner, if you wanted to extract the data from Workday, you need to know what business object to be chosen to get the data from to get data in the report actually. Okay. If you are looking for employee data, you need to know that you need to use employee related business object to call the data from employee object. If someone is asking you to actually get all the dependents that are there in the system, okay, so you need to know which object that you need to use. Dependent data will go and sit in dependent business object, right? So you will be obviously using dependent object to call the data. Okay. So when you're actually creating a report, the first thing that has to come into your mind is which object should be holding this information and which object should be returning this information, and what you need to use for that is what your understanding has to be. Okay. So likewise, since we are talking about business object, there are certain things that you need to be aware as part of fundamentals in the reporting aspect. One is primary business object. The other one is a secondary business object. Okay. These are the two core things that you will be using in reporting actually. Okay. Primary business object is nothing but which will be getting the primary data. Okay, which will be returning the primary data. And secondary business object is nothing but which will be returning you the related data or secondary data. Okay. So what is the primary data and what is the secondary data? So when you're creating a report, the first thing that you will choose is the data source, right? And the moment you select the data source, automatically the business process will be auto-selected, and whatever data that you have added, that will be pulling from that particular object. And then when you wanted to have additional data to that, let's say dependent data. For example, let's say I'm creating a report called I wanted to have all workers data. Okay. I wanted to have all the worker information. So I'm using a data source called all workers data source I'm using. Okay. So because my report requirement is to get all the worker data, be it active employee, terminated employee, contractor, retiree, employee who went on long-term leave. So I wanted to have all these categories. So for that reason, I'm using all workers as a data source. So when you choose all workers as a data source and go for creating a report, automatically the data source will be connected to the business object and your worker business object will auto-populate actually. Because all workers is a data source that is connected to worker business object. So your business object for your report will be auto-populated, which is worker business object. Now you go and add all the fields like employee ID, employee name, hire date, super, cost center, location, all these things you've added. Okay, because all these are sitting in worker business object. Okay. Now when you run a report, you'll be getting all this data. Okay, all this data for active employees you'll be getting, for terminated employees you will be getting, for employee who went on long-term leave will be getting, for contractors you'll be getting. Because you have chosen all workers as a data source, and when you add the data to that, it will be returning for all the workers. It will be returning for data for all the workers actually. Okay. Now, in the same report, you got a request to add dependent information. Okay. Dependent information is what you got a request to add. Since dependent information is something outside of worker, that data will not be sitting in worker business object, because worker business object will be holding only worker data, right? It will not be holding dependent data. Okay. Then what you'll do, you'll add dependent as a related business object here. In the report, you'll add dependent as a related business object and then add all the related fields actually. Dependent, relationship, gender, age. Okay. So we'll add different set of fields that are sitting in the dependent business object. Okay. Now tell me which is primary business object and which is related business object here. Which is primary business object and which is related business object here?
Primary is worker, dependent is related.
This is worker, because the moment we choose all workers data source, automatically worker has got populated. This will become your primary business object. Then after you create a report, you got a requirement to add dependent as a related business object. Then you added this one and you are getting this data. Now, what is the primary data here? This is your primary data.
Related to the employee.
Yeah.
Or worker.
Whatever I've highlighted, which are coming from worker business object, is a primary data. And secondary data is this one. Okay. So that's why we say primary business object is nothing but which will be returning primary data. Secondary business object is nothing but which will be returning secondary data or related data. Okay. So that is entire fundamental for your reporting. Okay. That is a basic point that you need to have whenever you're playing reporting with multiple business object. The one that you see which is defaulted will become your primary business object, and then after that, whatever business object you're going to add to the report will become your secondary business object. That can be, there is no limitation for that. You can add n number of business objects to the report. Okay. But all those things, whatever you're adding as extra, will become your secondary business object. Clear? Any questions here?
No,
Okay.
no. It's good.
And then we have something called data sources. Data source is nothing but it is a view of your business object. Okay. It is nothing but view of your business object. Whatever you're seeing in report, the data, whatever you're seeing in report, that will be based on the data source that you have selected. Okay. So whatever the data that you're getting in the report, that is based on the data source that you have selected. Though you're using a business object here, but based on the data source, you're getting the data. Let's say, for example, I'm using all active employees as a data source, meaning that I wanted to have only active employees in the report. I don't want to have any terminated. I don't want to have any contracted. I don't want to have any employees who went on long-term leave, retirees. I don't want to have any of this information. I just wanted to have active employees. Okay. So which will be pointed to the employee business object. Okay. This connection, how it is connected, how data sources are connected to the business object, probably we'll discuss at later point, which will give a kind of clear understanding how these are connected. So you might have a kind of question now. How do we know that which data source is connected to the business object? You can know that there is some process that that you need to know in order to understand the connection between the data source and the business object. Okay, so we'll get into that point once the basic fundamentals are covered. We'll get to that point so that you can know how data sources are connected to the business object. Okay, so the moment you select active employees, since it is connected to the employee business object, your report primary business object will become employee business object. Okay. Now you add all the data. So whatever data that you wanted to have, you add all the data like employee ID, employee data you'll add. Okay, you'll add all the employee data and you'll be getting this data. Okay. Now, what data you'll be getting when you run a report? You'll be getting only active employee data, right? You'll be getting only active employee data. Why you're getting active employee data? Because you have chosen all active employees as a data source. That is the reason why you're getting only active employee data, but you're not getting any terminated data or any other data. So your data source is actually making this data to return actually. Okay, so that is the reason why we say data source is nothing but view of your data from the business object. How we are able to see your data, that will be based on your data source, which your business object will be returning actually. Okay. So here you are getting active employee data. The reason why you're getting active employee data, because you have selected active employees as a data source in the business object called employee, and it is pulling you only active employee data in the system. Okay. So that's why we say data source is nothing but a view of your business object or view of the data that you're getting from the business object. Okay. These three are primary assets for your reporting, without which you cannot create any report. Okay. So you need to have a kind of clear understanding. What is a primary business object? What is a secondary business object? And what is a data source? If we are clear on these three, the functionalities that we typically use on these three, you're through with the reporting. Okay. You can understand any of the requirement that comes on your way for reporting actually. Okay.
So any other primary business objects other than the worker?
We have a lot of them. Okay. So it
Okay,
depends
because
on the,
we see many examples based on worker only, so that's the reason.
so because Workday is a kind of people system, right? Workday is a people system. Okay, worker data. Okay. So in 90% of the cases in reporting, you'll be using worker as a business object. Okay, because you'll be extracting worker data, right? So that's the major case where you can see you'll be almost using 90% of the cases related to the worker data. Let's take another example to get a kind of clear understanding outside of worker business object. Okay. Let's say you've been asked to actually call any of the compensation increments for an employee. Okay.
Okay.
So compensation increments, how much salary employee has got incremented. Okay. What are all the kind of compensation plans that are impacting with the compensation changes? You've been asked to create a report. Okay. Since that is a worker related compensation, even here also, you can use worker as a primary business object and use something related to compensation as a related business object. But since you wanted to know any other case outside of worker, we can use business object. There is a business object called adjustment for. Okay. There is a business object called adjustment for business object, which will typically store all the compensation changes. Okay. Whatever the changes that are happening in the compensation object, this adjustment for business object will be capturing all those things. So if you wanted to report on all the compensation changes or annual kind of compensation changes that you're making to an employee, any kind of increments, any kind of plans that are getting added with additional bonus. So if you wanted to get all the information of compensation changes, you'll be using adjustment for business object, and you'll add all the data like percentage of comp increment, base pay increment. Okay. Or percentage of bonus base pay. What is your annual incentive increment? Your any kind of other components like allowances, percentage increment. Okay. You had all this data. Okay. You'll be adding all this information. Okay. Which will be getting all the data. Now, you need to have worker data to be added to this, right? You need to understand for which employee these changes are there. Okay. For which employee increments are there. You need to have a kind of understanding, right? Here you're going to use worker as a related business object. Okay. You're using worker as a related business object, and then you add employee ID, worker, location, all this demographic information of an employee you'll add. Okay. So now here, since you started creating a report with adjustment for, this will become your primary business subject, which will be getting all your primary data. And then you added a worker, which will be getting worker data, which will become your secondary business object. Okay. So this becomes your primary, this becomes your secondary in that case. Clear?
Yeah, clear. Yeah.
Okay. Even in the example that I've given above also,
Mhm.
we're using worker as a business object. Okay. They're getting all the worker data. And then we added dependent object. We're getting all the dependent data. We can reverse this again. Okay. You can have dependent here, add dependent as a primary business object, and then add worker as a business object, related business object, where you'll be getting primary data. All this will this become primary data. This will become your secondary data, because you're using a report with the dependent business object, and you're adding worker as a related business object. So then the definition changes here. So this will become your related data, and this will become your primary data.
Okay.
So how you will be knowing that primary business object is connected to the related business object? How do we understand which which are connected, which are not connected? Is what we'll be discussing when we get to the tenant. Okay, so these three are main things that you need to know before you start learning about reporting. One is primary business object, the other one is a related business object, the other one is data source. Okay. So we have covered the definitions of these things, but probably we'll see what are the available data sources that we have, and what are the available business objects that we have. How to understand which are related, which are primary, is what when we go to the tenant, we'll try to get more understanding when we see them. But if I talk on them, that will lead to confusion. But when I show you something, that will give a kind of clear understanding. Okay. So that part we'll be seeing when we get into the tenant. And the other thing is fields and instances. Okay. Fields and instances are nothing but data actually. Whatever you're adding is nothing but a fields actually. Okay. Whatever data that you're adding is nothing but a fields that you're adding, and you will be getting the data in the form of rows and columns. Okay. So whatever you're adding, fields and instances, those will be populated in the form of rows and columns. Okay. So to give a kind of clear understanding here, object is nothing but an Excel sheet you can think of. Okay. So when you wanted to have a kind of clear understanding, what is a business object means? It is nothing but a spreadsheet actually, where all your data will be stored in the form of rows and columns. Okay. Let's say employee ID, name of the employee, title of the employee, location of the employee, country of the employee. Okay. So now this is a business object. Okay. You can take this spreadsheet is a business object, and business object is holding the data in the form of rows and columns, which is this one actually. Okay. So a business object is nothing but which will be holding data in the form of fields and instances, which are nothing but rows and columns. Okay. So these are nothing but columns, and they are nothing but rows actually. That's why we say business object is nothing but which will be holding data in the form of rows and columns. Okay. And then coming to the reporting concept. Okay. So in Workday, we have two types of reports actually. One is standard report. Another one is custom report. Okay. Two types of reports, standard report and custom report. Standard reports are nothing but which are provided by Workday. Standard reports are provided by Workday to all its customers. Okay. You just need to use them. Same standard report, every customer will have. It's not that certain will have for one customer, certain will have for different customer. No. Every standard report that we see, that will be unique for all the customers. Okay. It's not something that is different based on the customer actually. So standard reports are nothing but which are provided by Workday and delivered to all the customers. Okay. And then we have something called custom report. Okay. Before we go to the custom report, there are within standard report, there are again two types of reports. Okay. So we are saying standard report is nothing but which are created, which are provided by Workday, which customer will be using, right? Now in the same standard report, you have again two standard reports actually. One is report writer, two types of other standard reports. The other one is express flow reports. Report writer and express reports are further two standard reports that we have in Workday. Okay. So we are saying standard report is nothing but which are provided by Workday to all their customers, right? Now, when you have any kind of requirement to actually use the standard report and wanted to add some additional data to that one, rather than creating a new report, is there any chance to actually use a standard report? Is there any chance to add some of the fields and make use of that? Is what you got some kind of understanding. But standard reports cannot be edited anytime. You don't have a control to edit your standard reports. You cannot add or remove data from the standard reports. You cannot edit that. But when you have a standard report which is of a report writer type, a standard report which is of report writer type, you have an option to copy your standard report to custom report. Okay. Only when the report writer type is a standard report, then only you have an option to convert your standard report to custom report actually. Okay. So the report writer is one of the type of standard report which will allow you to copy your standard report to custom report. And then you can customize however you want to have. You can add all the fields as per your choice. You can go in that way. Okay. But when you try to copy a report which is of express flow type, a standard report which is of express flow type, you'll not be able to copy that. Because express flow reports are defined for only viewing the data, but not modifying the data. So you cannot copy express flow reports in Workday. Okay. Cannot be copied here. You can copy here. Reports actually can be copied and cannot be copied. Now tell me, what is the difference between report writer and express flow?
Report writer can be copied. We can copy and make the customized changes. But whereas Expresso report is only be viewed, cannot be
Yes,
edited.
for view. You cannot modify express flow report data.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is a standard report terminology. Okay. When you're actually accessing a task called copy standard to custom, in that list, you'll be getting only reports that are report writer type. You'll not be getting express flow report in that list actually. There is a task actually copy your standard report to custom report. And when you access this task, you'll be getting only report writer type of reports in that list actually. You'll not be getting anything outside of that. Okay. Now then, coming to the custom reports. Custom reports are created by customers. Created by customers. Custom reports are created by customers according to their custom requirements actually. Okay. And when you create a custom report, yeah.
Tailor-made reports.
What is that?
Tailor-made reports, sir, according to our requirements. Tailor-made reports, like according to our requirements, right? That's what I'm asking.
What is tailor-made? I'm first time hearing that.
No, it's a customized because we give the requirements and it's not a Workday delivered report.
It's not a Workday delivered. You call it as a tailored made.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you can take in that way. Okay. So we will be creating custom report as how we wanted to have. Okay. As how we wanted to have. You can customize your standard report and add the fields, make a filter changes, add prompts, do any kind of calculations. Okay. A lot of things you can perform in a custom report actually. Okay. Which you are creating from the scratch. Okay. And when you create a custom report, you will become the owner of that custom report. Okay. You will become the owner of that custom report and you have an option to make edits, modify these things you can do since you're owner of the custom report. Okay. And then within custom report, we have multiple types of custom report. One is simple report. Simple report. The other one is advanced report. The other one is matrix report. The other one is trended report. The other one is transposed report. The other one is search report. The other one is inbox report. Last one is composite report. These are all the types of custom reports we have. Why do we have this many types in the sense? Based on the need, based on the data visibility actually. Okay. So one report can give data in a tabular format. One report type can generate data in a graphical format. One report can actually get you the kind of, trends of the data. One report can get you data in a search format through search report. One report can get you in a two-dimensional format, which is inbox report. There are a lot of requirements you'll be seeing actually. Based on that requirement, you'll be choosing the type of the report and create that report actually. Among the list, first one, simple report. Okay. Simple report is nothing but just simple. Name itself says that it is simple. Okay. Simple report cannot provide you any advanced capabilities actually. Okay. You just need to create data, or you just need to create a report on a single business object. Okay. Simple report will not allow you to add multiple business objects and call the data. So you cannot use any kind of advanced filtering options. You cannot use any kind of, related business objects. Okay, you cannot have the data populated in a graphical format. A lot of things cannot be performed by simple report, because simple report is just simple actually. You can just add the fields in the primary business object and use according to your requirement. So it is as simple, no related business subjects, no advanced filtering options. You cannot use advanced filters in a simple report actually. Okay. Very rarely used. You cannot use simple report for your requirements majorly actually, because it does not provide multiple options, right? So you'll not be majorly using simple report, but very rarely customers who are not aware of reporting functionality, since simple report is a defaulted one, they'll straightly go and create simple report. When they but when there is something that need to be added from the related business object, you cannot add actually, because simple report will not allow you to add a related business object. So in that case, again, you need to rework on your reporting part to convert your simple report to advanced report. So rather than investing the time, you can actually go for creating a report from the advanced report only. Okay. So advanced report is nothing but in 90% of the cases, all your reporting will be, sorry. In 90, you're not seeing my screen.
We are seeing it, Amit.
In 90% of the cases, you go for advanced report actually. All your reporting requirements will be from advanced report in majority of the cases, because advanced report provides you a lot of options to handle. You can add related business object, you can make advanced filters, okay, and you can filter on the related data. You can define some kind of advanced filtering options. A lot of things you can do with advanced report. That's the reason why we say 90% of the reporting that we typically perform will be based on the advanced reporting. Okay. So it can connect to multiple systems also. That advanced report can be integrated. That advanced report can be connected to other products. So a lot of things it can do actually. Okay. That's why we say advanced report is the mostly used report type in Workday. There are a lot of reasons. Okay. One is it can connect to any system. The other one is you can use n number of related business object. The other one is you can filter on the related data. A lot of things you can perform here. Okay, that's why we say advanced report is one of the unique report which is majorly used. Okay. Then next comes matrix report actually. After advanced report, matrix report is one of the report type that you will typically use. You can see around 5% of the reporting requirements comes on matrix report. Okay. So matrix report is typically used for data analytical requirements. Okay, when you wanted the data to be populated in a graphical format, okay, chart format, there your matrix report comes into the picture. Okay, here we are saying advanced report can perform anything, right? 90% of all the reporting will be going with advanced report because it can perform anything is what we are saying. So though it can perform anything, advanced report has a kind of a limitation that it cannot group the data. Advanced report cannot group the data. Okay, if you wanted to get the list of the or count of the employees from each country, your advanced report cannot get that count actually. It can get you all the data. All you need to do is you need to extract that into a spreadsheet and then filter by country and know the count. Okay. That grouping thing, your advanced report cannot do that. But whereas your matrix report can do that. The purpose of the matrix report is to group the data. Okay. Grouping functionality is not there in advanced, but grouping functionality is there in matrix report, which will allow you to group the data. Okay. So matrix report will perform. The matrix report will group the data and get you the information what you're looking for. Okay. And matrix report is typically used for graphical reporting purposes. It is not integrated in any other system. It is not a kind of report that can be sent to any other system. Okay, it's just a kind of standalone report where you can see graphical data can be generated through matrix report actually. Okay, that's why we say matrix report is nothing but a proper analytical report. Advanced report is nothing but a proper data report, we say. Proper analytical report in the sense it has a kind of lot of options to customize the data. When I say customize the data in the sense, group the data. Okay. Grouping the data as per your need will be performed by matrix report, which will be meeting your expectations actually. But you cannot do the same in advanced report because advanced report cannot group the data. It can do anything, but it cannot group the data. Okay. That's on the matrix report actually. Then coming to the trended report. Trended report and matrix report are same actually. Okay. Trended report and matrix report, the purpose of both are same. Both will be getting the data in the same analytical format. But only the difference here is matrix report, when you're creating a matrix report, you can use any data source, any business object. You can use any data source, any business object to create a matrix report. But whereas for trended report, you cannot use any business object or any data source. Okay, for trended data source, for trended workers, you'll not be using any business object for reporting actually, because trended report will go with trended data sources and trended business object. We have a standard data source called trended workers. Okay, this is a business object or a data source from which you can call the data. But trended report,
Any example for the trend?
Yeah. Coming to that. Okay. So for trended, we have only trended workers data source and trended worker business object. But here you can use all workers, you can use dependent data, you can use compensation data, you can use any business object you can use. But trended report you cannot use. The purpose is trended report. The purpose of the trended report is it will be holding the trend data. Okay. So what is the trends of hiring that is happening in the system? What is the trends of attrition that is happening in the system? Okay. How many women employees got hired in last quarter? Okay, last 1 quarter or last 2 quarters? Or how many employees got terminated from US in last 2 quarters? So this is something you're trying to get information in trends actually. Okay. You're trying to understand the trends of this data quarterly or monthly or annually. You're trying to understand this data. Okay. So when you have such kind of requirements, you'll be getting the trended information from the trended report actually, because in the background, there will be a process that will be running to store all the trended data. So that will be connected to the trended business object and you should be getting all the trended information actually. Okay. So for such kind of requirements, you go with trended reporting. Clear? Any question? Srinivas, is this clear? Do you have anything?
Here, when we see some samples, I think I'll be able to.
Samples when we
Maybe
create, we'll do that. Okay, when we create reports, right? We'll be
Okay.
using trended work as business object and we'll be creating reports. Okay. If you wanted to understand the trends of termination in last 6 months, last quarter, so you can get that from trended report. But whereas you cannot get this information from matrix report. Matrix report will be storing only current data. Okay. It will not understand the trended data.
Okay.
Okay.
So metric is always current.
Yeah. Matrix, whatever the business object that we have, you can use that. And trended is nothing but it will be getting you trend information. Okay. And then transpose report is nothing but reversal of your advanced report. Whatever the data that you're getting in advanced report in a format, the same can be reversed in a transpose report. If you're getting data in advanced report like this, or let's take a spreadsheet we have, right? If you're getting advanced data report like this, there is a output of advanced report. But for the same things, if you are creating a transpose report, you'll be getting data like this. Employee ID, name, title, location, country. You will be getting same advanced report like this actually, because it is changing the data rows and columns. Okay. Okay. So a transpose report is nothing but which is a similar to advanced report, but the output of transpose report will be a reversal of your advanced report output. The format will be exactly opposite actually. Okay. So that is nothing but a transpose report. There is no much different. The process of creating is same. Only the thing is the way it generates output will be different actually. Okay.
And where is this report used, Amit? Just curious to know. This transposed, is this used in
No.
any specific type of reporting?
No. So only when you wanted to have the data in a different format, you'll use, but there won't be any kind of specific use. I have not created even one transpose report so far. I've created more than 1,000 reports so far for majority of the requirements across all the modules, but not even a single transpose report. Because the purpose of the report is to get for multiple needs, right? When you create advanced report, you can use that for API, you can use that for integration, you can use that for Prism. A lot of requirements you have. So that is something that you generally use actually. Okay. If business wanted to get the data, you go for matrix report, you go for trended report actually. But transpose report, what is the purpose of that? Okay. So only we are seeing that the output format is a little different actually. But outside of that, there is a specific business case where your transpose report is actually used. There is no use. Very often you will be seeing, and you might not see also. But you need to know the purpose of it. Okay. So we'll be performing an activity, we'll be creating, we'll know how to create, how it generates the data is what we'll know. Okay. Since you need to know all the reports, right? We'll be covering that, but there won't be any specific business case for that to see where transpose report will be used. Okay.
And does it require studio or something, or you can do it in normal report
No,
writer?
any of the report that you're seeing does not require any studio. Whatever report that you're seeing here, no report here that you're seeing requires studio. All you need to know that you need to have an access to create a report. That's
Okay.
one thing that you need. If you wanted to build an integration that needs to connect to any of the report that you have created, then sudo is required.
That's my understanding too. Okay.
Yeah, any kind of complex integration that you're building. And for that complex integration, your report is a source of the data. In that scenario, you go for building your sudo integration. Okay.
Okay.
But when you, for just reporting creation, you don't need any studio. Your workday should be fine. Okay. That's a transpose report actually. Okay. Next thing is a search report. Okay. Search report will allow you to search for the data. Search for the data based on the search criteria, you can actually search for the report. And even search report cannot be integrated to multiple systems. This is just for internal purpose, you'll be using search report. Okay. And you can add some kind of advanced filters to search report to filter your data. So that's for such kind of purposes, you'll be creating a search report actually. Okay. And then inbox report. Inbox report is nothing but a report that will be generating data in a two-dimensional format. Okay. So mostly in finance and performance, we'll be using this inbox report actually. Okay. So for finance, mostly used for financial accounting purposes, and then it will be used for your performance reviews also. Okay. If you want to get your performance data populated in two-dimensional format, you'll be using inbox report type to get the data in a two-dimensional format.
So looks like this is used in the succession planning. Huh?
Yeah, performance. Yes, succession planning.
Performance
Performance.
potential.
Yeah,
Okay.
calibrations. When you're reporting on calibrations, you want to understand the kind of x-axis and y-axis of performance data for employees. Such kind of cases you use inbox reporting.
N box, I think 9 box we call, right? In some systems, 9 box report.
Yeah, you can call it 9 box also.
Okay.
Okay. And then last is a composite report actually. Okay. Composite report is also a kind of analytical report, but we can create composite report on multiple data sources. All other reports that we have seen, right from advanced to simple, we will have only one data source actually. But whereas composite report, we can create on multiple data sources. And composite report will be using multiple reports as sub-reports actually. Okay. And that's where we'll be getting a chance to handle multiple data sources when it is a composite report type actually. Okay. So the difference between all the reports that we have seen and the difference between composite report is you have an option to use multiple data sources when you're creating a report. And then you'll be using multiple reports as a kind of source for your composite report. So you'll be attaching that and will make your configuration of the composite report in a right process to get the data in an analytical form. Even composite report is an analytical report, but only the thing is it will be built on multiple sources. It will be built on multiple reports actually. Basically, matrix report will be source for your composite report. You can attach couple of matrix report that will give you source information to the composite report actually. So those are all the types of the custom reports we have. For each type, we have a different specific feature which will be creating. We'll be creating all the reports and get a kind of understanding. Okay. Right from simple report to composite report, we'll create all those reports and get a fair understanding in handling reporting requirements. Okay.
Question, Amit, on the composite report.
Uh-huh.
So when you say multiple data sources, can I have HR data and finance data to build this report?
Those are not connected, right? HR and finance data sources are not connected. You can get dependent data and worker data, which are connected. You can get employee performance data and employee benefits data you can connect because all those are connected actually. Okay. All the business objects that we have, those are connected. Those data sources are connected to the business object. But finance and HR are no way connected. No, they don't have a link actually. The business object that we have in finance and the business object that we have in HR are no way connected to each other. In the scenario, you cannot get data from multiple data sources for those objects that you said actually. Only connected data sources, business object, actually get.
But dependent and worker, we can also achieve it through advanced, right? Where you can have primary and related business object.
But you cannot group the data, no? In advanced report,
You cannot group it. Okay.
you cannot
Here
group
you can
data,
group
right?
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Since you wanted to get analytical information, you cannot get analytical information in advance, right?
Okay. Makes sense.
So for all those kind of cases, we'll be using composite report. And since we are saying composite report will be sourced from matrix report, and we know the difference between matrix and advanced. Advanced report will be giving you data in a tabular format, whereas your matrix report can get in a graphical format. And you can group the data in a matrix report. You don't have any functions to group the data in a advanced report. So the same will apply for composite report because matrix reports will be sourced for your composite report. Okay. The same difference you can understand between advanced and composite report. Okay.
And
So
another
that-
question. I mean,
Yeah.
for all these report types in report writer tool, data should be within Workday, correct?
Yeah. Data
I
should be
cannot have
business objects.
within business object. Okay. I cannot have data from PeopleSoft and data from Workday. That can only be achieved through the Prism, right? Not here.
So that is a different concept again. Okay. If you wanted to have PeopleSoft data, external data into Workday, one is through data conversion, you can actually get all the data into when you're trying to move the legacy data into Workday, when you're changing your PeopleSoft data to Workday, you can do through data conversion. If at all, if you're performing a kind of data transformation. But if you want to have PeopleSoft data to be as it is, PeopleSoft system as it is, but you only wanted to have data to be in Workday. If that is the case, you call that data into Prism and generate a kind of data set and make it a report where your Prism data set would be a data source actually. So it is not a Workday data source, it's a Prism data source. Okay. In that way you can create, but we have a lot of options through EAB also. Okay. So if you wanted to have employee data who sits in PeopleSoft, that should be in Workday. So you can have a kind of employee data to be updated in Workday through integrations also. So it depends upon what data that you want to have in the system from PeopleSoft, or if you want to have entire product to be changed or not, that's a different case actually. But data part, you can definitely get either of the way. It is in EAB format or it is in Prism format. Either of the way, you can get it.
Okay. So my question is the later part, but I reserve this question for a later day, right? I think you brought in a very good point where data is in Prism and reporting out of that. Right? I have a question on that, but I will wait for that question. Maybe in the as we move forward, I'll ask that question, not now.
Sure. Okay. Sure. Prism is just a kind of a repository product actually, where you can actually create data sets from external data when you wanted to blend the data. Okay, that session Workday that is coming from external system. When you wanted to blend the data, you use Prism Analytics actually, and then make a kind of combined data and push it to Workday and use that data for dashboards or for any other requirements you can use. No problem. Then we get into the advanced concept. We'll talk about that. But for now, that would be
yeah. So I was saying I have a typical scenario. I again wait for that.
Okay.
We have for one of our subsidiaries where we brought in the data from, I think, I don't know whether it was UKG or ADP, one of those systems. We brought the data and we retired one of those legacy systems, but we still have another two legacies.
Okay.
Right. But we did not bring it.
Okay.
But we do have, because we do have Prism, we have other modules implemented.
Okay.
But we are not using Prism to its fullest. Just wanted to understand, but not now. I think it's premature to ask that question now, right? Today.
Yeah.
I'll wait for that.
Sure. Okay. So this is a good start for you for reporting to the fundamentals.